Howdy ho ho, my good humans. How the hell are you doing? This is Unnecessary Rambling. I'm Brandon Sylvia. I appreciate y'all for tuning in to the 2024 video game prediction extravaganza. Today, in this here yonder video, I shall be going over the predictions I made in 2023 about gaming, the games industry, what would be revealed, all that good shit. I'll be going over here today in this video, seeing what I got right, seeing what I got wrong, and then making my 2024 predictions for the things that are absolutely going to come true next year, this year in the games industry. So you don't want to miss this. I got my crystal ball and I can see it all. Hashtag bars. So what we're going to do here today is, like I said, go over everything that I predicted in 2023. We'll start off there, and then we'll make our way into the 2024 predictions. And hit me in the comments down below with some of your predictions for 2024. And without further ado, let's get this shit started with last year's predictions. I'll have them up on the screen for you so that you can see all these. I'm just going to go over these really quick, rapid fire, run through them. I had my first prediction down as Square Enix gets bought, I assumed, by PlayStation, but I didn't put that in the prediction. I just said Square Enix is going to get bought. They were acting weird in 2022, late 2022, releasing all those games in close proximity to one another. Just some weird energy that Square Enix was putting off. Thought they were going to get bought. They didn't get bought. Xbox has a huge E3 showing was my second prediction. That definitely did come true, at least in my estimation. I guess everybody can have a different perspective or opinion on this, but I really don't know how you can watch that Xbox summer showcase and not think that they had, without a shadow of a doubt, the best summer showcase for 2023. When you look at SGF and the PlayStation showcase, it just the Xbox showcase was head and shoulders above those two, in my opinion. I put down Skull and Bones will be delayed. Skull and Bones was indeed delayed, but it does look like it's going to come out in 2024. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe when I made that prediction, I said something that I thought it was a real possibility that this thing would just get completely canceled in 2023. So maybe like half of a check there, half right, half incorrect. My next prediction was another Ubisoft very safe prediction. No info on Beyond Good and Evil 2. Of course, we did not get any info on Beyond Good and Evil 2. My fifth one was that PSVR 2 will die a slow death. I'm giving myself correct on that, but I think you could maybe say incorrect, because I think the death was a lot quicker than even I expected. I wouldn't consider the death of PSVR 2 to be all that slow. It's definitely, you could argue, already dead or damn near dead. Even with that, what was it, the MetaQuest game that launched recently. I'll put in, I can't think of the name, but it was a fucking 10 out of 10, and it's not available on PSVR 2. It's just that thing doesn't seem to have any sort of legs. I don't feel like it will last much longer. I don't think we'll get into that in a little bit. I don't know if I even put it down. I'll go ahead and say it here. I don't think we'll see any first party support for PSVR 2 at all in 2024. I don't think we'll see a single game announced coming, at a first party or out of a first party capacity. I don't think we'll see a single PSVR 2 game announced from PlayStation first party in 2024. So yeah, I think that thing is dying a quicker death than even I would have expected. My next one, I kind of got right, kind of got wrong. I said Starfield will be delayed to holiday 2023. It wasn't quite holiday. It got delayed out of that June window into September. So close to holiday 2023, but not quite. So, once again, kind of 50-50 there. I said that my seventh prediction was ABK deal goes through with COD staying on PlayStation in perpetuity. I don't think the specifics of the contract stated that Call of Duty would have to be on PlayStation in perpetuity, but Phil Spencer has been very vocal about keeping Call of Duty on PlayStation in perpetuity. So, I don't know. I'll give myself half right, half incorrect on this one as well. You could say that that's a straight up L, and I'd understand that one. My next one was definitely a heart pick. I said that Jedi Survivor wins Game of the Year. I thought I had some good reasoning for it at the time, with Respawn being able to really get a significant, a next level budget for that sequel from Fallen Order to Jedi Survivor. Unfortunately, the PC, the fact that it came out so busted on PC, and the fact that, you had a year with Baldur's Gate 3 and Totka and shit like that, it would have been an uphill battle for Jedi Survivor to win Game of the Year at the Keighleys. But yeah, that was definitely a heart pick, but fucking incredible video game. My next one, I'm actually very happy to say I did get this incorrect, and that is that I said Hogwarts is just going to be okay. Hogwarts Legacy is going to be okay. It's going to be fine. And with a lot of these, you can kind of say, okay, well, that's up to each individual person's perspective, and then yada, yada, yada. For me, Hogwarts Legacy was fucking fantastic. That game was great. Way better than it had any right to be. I mean, Avalanche never making anything in this lane, anything on this realm. And yeah, I think they absolutely knocked it out of the park for their first big leap forward. I am not saying they've made AAA games, but this just felt on a whole different fucking playing field than anything else they've ever made before. So I think I had reason to believe that it was just going to be middling to average, and it was much better than that, in my opinion. Hey man, my number 10 prediction, I'm happy that I got this correct. And I guess I should say spoilers for Spider-Man 2. I'll make sure to cover the prediction, and I'll have it in the timestamps. Just skip ahead to the next part of the timestamp if you have not finished Spider-Man 2. But my 10th prediction was that Venom will be playable in Spider-Man 2. And at the time, I thought that was a bit outlandish. I thought, man, is this really feasible for Insomniac to pull this off with their development times just being incredibly short between 2018 to 2020 with Miles Morales, to 2021 with Rift Apart, to now 2023 with Spider-Man 2. Is it possible that they can create a whole different, a play style, a whole different character? Because Miles Morales, Peter Parker, they're kind of interchangeable with their play styles, with key distinct differences. But Venom, that's a totally separate beast. And the fact that Venom was playable in Spider-Man 2, I was just happy to get this prediction correct. Venom wasn't, you couldn't utilize Venom in the way that I wish you were able to in Spider-Man 2, but it was still fucking awesome to just even have the ability in that section to wreck shop as Venom. So I'm proud of that. I'm proud of that 10th prediction there. I think that might be the most bold out of any of these here. My 11th prediction is laughably bad. Crime Boss Arcade City will be the surprise hit of 2023. It was not. Even for someone like me who had bias going into it where I wanted to like it, I just did not like it whatsoever. And it's not that I didn't like it whatsoever. I just, where did the damn, I've made this rant 1,000 times on the channel, but what the hell happened to just 10-hour single player campaigns? Why does everything have to be a roguelike or a Souls-like or a fucking something or another? My 12th prediction was that Plucky Squire would win Indie Game of the Year. It did not, because it did not get released in 2023, but I do think it will win Indie Game of the Year in 2024. Well, I mean, actually, I don't know. I wonder what changes will be made to that category for, Keighley's award show at the end of the year, because of all the hoopla about Dave the Diver. Would that also disqualify games like The Plucky Squire, with it being published by Devolver? I mean, I know the developer isn't owned by Devolver, so I guess that is the distinction. But man, that's a really slippery slope that they could, that the press, the media, whatever, could be creating, where games like this, games of this ilk, the Strays of the world and shit, just stop getting nominated altogether for Indie Game of the Year because it wasn't independently funded, developed, published. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how that all pans out, but Plucky Squire will win Indie Game of the Year for 2023, of course. I got that one incorrect because it didn't come out in 2023. And my 13th prediction was that Horizon Zero Dawn, the remake, would actually be a remaster. And we didn't hear any information about Horizon. I remember it was a big talk of the town going into 2023. and you know, just with, oh my God, we're getting another PlayStation first party remake of a game that does not need a remake whatsoever, even less so than The Last of Us, a game that came out in 2013. We're getting a remake for a game that came out in 2017. And I just remember all of that conversation. I was like, I can't see this being a reality where Horizon Zero Dawn, a game from 2017, gets remade in 2023 or 2024, whatever the case. But the further we get away from it, and the closer we get to like 2027, 2028, when it's about 10 years out in the same distance that The Last of Us 1, you know, from 2013 when it released in 2022. So a 9-year gap there. Yeah, I guess it might end up being a remake actually, which kind of sucks. But to play devil's advocate, there were some significant changes made to Forbidden West, and like the climbing and then the more versatile melee combat. If that could be implemented into Horizon Zero Dawn, that'd be cool. But to replay devil's advocate on the other side of the shoulder is that The Last of Us 2 had a bunch of like going prone and a bunch of really cool features in TLU 2 that didn't make its way to TLU 1. So it's like, well, those features probably wouldn't be included in the Horizon Zero Dawn remake anyway. So those are all my predictions for 2023. I don't know what you really would score that, because there's so many like half yes, half no. I'd say maybe 3 or 4 out of the 10 predictions I got correct, somewhere in that range. So I shot 40%, 30% from the field. Not great. All right, now I'm going to rapid fire run through the game reveal prediction results, the games that I thought would get revealed in 2023, and I'm going to rapid fire run through these. I promise. I know I just said that before and rambled for 15 minutes, but we're going to rapid fire run through these. I said Grand Theft Auto 6 would get its first trailer at the end of 2023. I did say, though, it would have a 2024 date attached to it, and then I said it would get delayed and launch early to mid 2025. And I got so many of these wrong that I'll give myself a green check on this one. But we did get the trailer. It didn't have a 2024 date attached to it. It is going to release in 2025. So 2 of the 3 correct fucking guesses there. I'm giving myself a damn check because I got very few checks on this one. I said for my second prediction, The Witcher 4 would get a cinematic teaser that suggests you'll be creating your own character. Wrong answer. Ghost of Tsushima 2 reveal with a surprising amount of gameplay. I said I was thinking like a 2-3 minute trailer with a 2024 release date attached to it. Wrong answer. My fourth prediction was that Metal Gear Solid from Blue Point would be revealed. Wrong answer. We got MGS3 remake from Virtuous Studios announced. So at least we got the Metal Gear Solid remake finally announced to us in 2023. I then said that Ubisoft's Star Wars game gets revealed for the first time, and when they show gameplay, we'll see that they took the flying mechanics from Beyond Good and Evil 2 and put them in Star Wars, further confirming that, you know, Beyond Good and Evil 2 is dead. And that I said people will be surprised and pleasantly surprised by the Star Wars open world game, and that people would be like, hell yeah, this looks a lot better than we expected. And I don't know, once again, I'm going to give myself a check mark for this one. I can kind of see the Beyond Good and Evil 2 stuff in that Star Wars trailer, but I don't know. That's a little bit of a stretch. But if we're saying, okay, give him a check because the game got revealed. It did get revealed in 2023, and we did get a fucking great chunk of gameplay. And I think the overall consensus, the overall response was that, yeah, this looks better than we expected. It doesn't look as typical Ubisoft as we expected. I think that was the overall takeaway from that trailer. And then I said that Splinter Cell would be shown off and will look solid as well. Splinter Cell wasn't shown off, and I hope it looks solid somewhere in development, but it was definitely not shown off in 2023. I said that I thought we would get an announcement for the Legacy of Kain remastered collection, and that it would be somewhere on the level of the Destroy All Humans remaster. Not quite on that level, like a step or two down, but very faithful remaster, including, you know, all the Soul Reaver games, making it a 5-game package for $60. Of course, that didn't happen. Embracer is totally fucking imploding. I said here that NCAA 2024, I honestly, I don't even know what the fuck I said here. I'm looking over my notes from last year when I wrote all this shit down. All I said was last NCAA football game was 2014, so 10 years. So I'm guessing I was saying that it would get announced in 2023 and release in 2024. I definitely got to do a much better job of taking notes. But NCAA 2024, regardless if I said it was going to get revealed or released or whatever, neither happened. It's looking like it will get released in 2024 though. So I don't know if they'll call it NCAA 2024, if they'll call it NCAA 2025 and stay on brand with the Maddens and all that shit. Regardless, completely incorrect in that prediction. And next I said that Dragon Age 4, we would see a brief gameplay snippet of that with a 2024 release date. Not looking good on that one whatsoever. We did get that little nothing ass worldview trailer, but with can't forget, with the announcement that we'll get more in summer of 2024. They released a teaser trailer to let us know we have 6 months to wait until we see any glimpse of gameplay from this thing. I said that we would get a Mass Effect 4 in-depth cinematic shot where we get a full look at the character that we're going to be playing as, or whether it's, a Liara or a created version of Shepard or whatever. I thought that 2023 would be the year where we got a real understanding of who we're going to be playing as in the next Mass Effect game. And we did get that little trailer that gave away some more details, and people are speculating, but we don't have any real understanding at all about who we're going to be playing as, who the main character of that game will be. I predicted that we would see Control 2 at the Game Awards. Did not see Control 2 at the Game Awards. I predicted that we would see a Factions gameplay reveal with a 2023 release date and then possibly delayed. I said that I think this will have a surprising amount of variety for a multiplayer live service title, but despite the quality, I think it will fizzle out in a couple of months. And none of that happened. It just got totally fucking canceled. Just never going to release, with one of the wildest statements I've ever seen about a team realizing 4 years or 3-4 years into development that, oh yeah, this probably isn't a good idea, because if we commit to this, we're just going to become a live service factory. So 3 years into development on this thing, we're just going to cancel it. Some people were really happy about that news, to hear that Naughty Dog was staying, a single player centric studio, and I'm happy about that as well. But like, goddamn, that's a lot of wasted time, a lot of wasted resources, a lot of wasted money. Just that good old PlayStation's live service era is panning out beautifully. I said DMC 6 would be revealed. Did not. I said Roll 7 would reveal their next game. Did not. New Uncharted. Did not. Joseph Ferris. Did not. Resident Evil 9. Did not. A very lackluster final, 6-7 predictions there. So that puts me at a grand total of 2 out of 17 correct video game reveal predictions in 2023. So definitely, like I said, that's the old me. You got to take the new me very seriously. In 2024, I have tons of sources now. I'm an insider, and I've leveled up. So definitely take all of my predictions for 2024 very seriously. Don't even look at the 2023 stuff. That's old news. 2024, I'm a changed man. In all honesty, for 2024, I didn't even fucking bother putting down many game reveal predictions. I got a few that we'll go over after we do the more industry related predictions. I don't know what the fuck is gonna get revealed. I think we'll kind of save that more for the Game Awards, Summer Games Fest, the Xbox Showcase, the PlayStation Showcase. We'll save the predictions, like the game reveal predictions, for that, because just like throwing darts at a board. Okay, this will get revealed in 2024. That'll get revealed in 2020. We'll do a little bit of that, but I'm fucking horrible at that shit. So I'm gonna stick to the industry related predictions, where I can at least get like fucking a 3 out of 10 here. All right, and the first one up, once again, this is more of an opinion than a prediction, but we'll throw it in here. I wrote down that we'll have the slowest game release schedule since 2019 in 2024. I don't think it will. Once I've really gone over and thought about it more, I don't think it'll be as bad as 2014, but I do think it'll be looked at somewhere in that same camp. Better than 2014, maybe worse than 2019. I think it'll be probably the second worst year of game releases of this decade, I would say. My second prediction that I jotted down was that PlayStation won't release a single first-party VR game in 2024, but we already talked about that, so no need to rehash that. But yeah, I don't think Sony will release a single PlayStation VR 2 game for 2024 first party. I don't think they'll release one beyond 2024. Like, I don't think a PlayStation owned team will release a PSVR 2 game ever. I think that they've completely moved on. They're like, all right, this is what the market is for this thing. Well, we'll pay some other developers to make VR versions of their game, but yeah, it definitely is not a priority whatsoever for Sony, which is so bizarre because you develop the whole fucking machine and you don't create any unique experiences for the machine. You just rely on other developers to do so. I don't know if that's the best strategy, but hey, they get paid a whole hell of a lot more than I do to make those decisions. So maybe they need the tech. They want to keep up to date with the latest and greatest VR technology in case it really takes off. I could understand that. And staying kind of on theme there for this third prediction, I don't think PlayStation's going to release a single first party single player game in 2024. I don't think we'll see one Sony owned team release a single player game in 2024, and I think that will be the first time in over a decade that this has occurred. I think we're looking at a implosion on a first party level at Sony, like we talked about earlier, with factions and Naughty Dog, and then just all this turmoil with the new live service initiative, and then that being shaken up. And now, do they really want to pursue that? Seems like no. And then you the only thing that it looks like we have coming out from a first party capacity in 2024, at least right now, is Concord. And we haven't even seen a millisecond of gameplay on that. So do we see any first party releases at all in 2024? I could definitely see Concord slipping to 2025. We know nothing about that thing. Thankfully, it does seem like Sony is being smart with their partnerships in 2024. You got Rebirth on the horizon, which is a godsend for PlayStation. You got Rise of the Ronin. You got Pacific Drive. There's probably a couple others that I'm forgetting from, second and third party capacity, but not looking good at all in the first party sphere. And such a bummer because those are my favorite teams in the industry. You know what I mean? Those style of games are my favorite style of games in the industry. Good old third person, over the shoulder, action adventure, deeply cinematic experiences. That's my favorite style of game. And I don't think we're going to be getting a single one from any PlayStation first party team in 2024. And to rub salt into the wound even more, my fourth prediction is that Xbox will have 2 games nominated for Game of the Year at Keighley's award show at the end of 2024. The safe assumption would be Hellblade 2 and Avowed, but I could see one of those 2 games getting delayed out of 2024. You know what? Actually, let's go ahead and we'll make a play on that. I'm gonna say Avowed gets delayed out of 2024 into 2025. So we'll jot that down as the fifth prediction here. So you're probably going, well, okay, if Avowed's going to get delayed to 2025, what is the other game going to be that's nominated for Game of the Year at Keighley's award show at the end of 2024? And I would have to respond with Hi-Fi Rush. Lest we not forget, Hi-Fi Rush, the shadow drop of 2023, that shook up the world for a little bit, made waves, and ended up being in a lot of people's game of the year, top 10, top 5 games of the year. Fantastic game. And I think in most years probably would have been nominated for the Big Six for Game of the Year. I think that's going to happen this year for Xbox in 2024. I don't think that shadow drop occurrence, I don't think that was a one-time thing for Xbox. I'm not even necessarily saying that they're going to do it in the exact same cadence in 2024. I just think that a game we have not seen yet, a game that has not been revealed yet by Xbox, is going to be revealed for the first time in 2024 and released in 2024 and be nominated for Game of the Year in 2024. But let's be very clear here. I'm still locking in that first prediction about Xbox having 2 games, 2 first-party games nominated for Game of the Year at the end of the year. If it ends up being Avowed, if Avowed does end up coming out, if it doesn't get delayed, that one still counts, and then I just have to have an X on that tie-in prediction there about Avowed being delayed. So kind of covering some bases here. I'm manipulating the scoreboard a little bit for myself. And I don't really want to predict the game that will be Shadow Drop, because it's like I honestly have no clue. My mind goes to id above anything else. I would have to assume a Doom game. And I know that, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, but I know that there's rumor that they're working on a Mandalorian title. I don't really believe that. But I would imagine that a Doom game has got to be somewhat close. So my mind goes to id. My mind goes to Double Fine. With their cadence before being acquired was just ridiculous, almost annualized at a certain point. South of Midnight and Clockwork Revolution were both recently rated for, like the Australian ESRB. It's not ESRB, but the rating board in Australia. So that makes you definitely think that those are probably a lot closer to release than we expect. But if you wanted my gut reaction to what I think the game will be that gets revealed in 2024, released in 2024, and nominated for Game of the Year in 2024, I would probably say Doom, but don't lock that in. It's my damn prediction. Don't hold me to that. All right, but we've done a lot of praising of the old Xbox here. It's time to take them down a peg. It's time to take them down a peg or two. I think that we're gonna see some controversy regarding Grand Theft Auto 6 and the Series S. I know that's very vague. I want to say, once again, gut feeling is that GTA 6 online, the online functionality doesn't launch day one on the Series S. Similar to, what we saw with the split screen in Baldur's Gate 3. I don't think it's going to be where the game just doesn't release on the Series S. I don't think it's going to be anything that drastic, but I talked about, probably, 7-8 months ago, 6 months ago, something like that, on the channel, where I predicted that we would see the parity requirements end up being totally lifted. And I talked about how I, like with Larian, with the split screen co-op and shit like that. And I thought that we would begin seeing that totally diminish. And I think this will be the next step in that process. I absolutely positively do not see Grand Theft Auto 6 running functionally and in parity with its version on the Series X and PS5. I don't think it'll be the same exact feature complete experience. There'll be some controversy. I don't really know. I'm thinking online, but it could be even something like 30 frames per second, but I could also see that being the same on the Series X. I could see it being 30 frames per second there, and I don't even think it would be a controversy if it was 30 frames per second on the X, or if it was 30 frames per second on the S, but not the X. I think people would be like, yeah, of course, that's totally fine. So I don't even think that's enough controversy. It's going to be something meaty, something significant. I'm thinking online, something to do with online. But yeah, overall prediction there is that there's some controversy with Grand Theft Auto 6 and the Series S. What are we on here? 8th prediction, I believe. Yeah, 8th prediction is that we'll start seeing more studios emerge as remake, remaster centric developers. You see Aspire, you see Virtuous, Blue Point, Night Dive, and listen, man, nostalgia is one hell of a drug. It is very, very real. I am very much addicted to that nostalgia drug. And you have to imagine there's a ton of developers out there realizing this trend and realizing there is a lot of money to be made by partnering up with these different publishers, looking at their IP catalog and saying, hey, we can spruce that up a bit for you and drop it on new gen consoles for $60 or $70, and idiots like me will eat it up like fucking hotcakes. So I think that we'll see more of that trend continuing on in 2024 with new studios being founded or even just popping up on the scene where it's very clear that is their main focus, to exist solely for the purpose of remastering and remaking old content. And gotta say, I don't really mind that idea. Hell, I mean, I think you could argue that all of the big publishers, the Konamis, the Bandais, PlayStation, even Xbox to a certain extent, Nintendo obviously, I think you could argue that all of these publishers would benefit from owning a studio that exclusively does that style of content. There's so much classic content that is not available in any way, shape, or form, and it's just absurd in my opinion. It's in terms of the effort that you would have to put in for some of these more faithful remasters and for some of the profit that you could get out of it. I think it's kind of a no-brainer that we'll see more of this pop up over the course of the next few years. And kind of staying right there with that, my 9th prediction is that new IP will continue to struggle in 2024 as franchises continue to see record highs in profits. You look at something like Immortals of Aveum in 2023, a game that I really enjoyed, and it really bummed me out by just how big of a flop it was financially, or Callisto Protocol in 2022, and you see these trends of new IP that are pretty decent with sizable budgets just flopping catastrophically to the point where you look at the new IP that are coming out and they're 2D games and then old school retro inspired titles like Sea of Stars and these different games that they're finding success because of their much smaller budget size in comparison. And it makes you go, damn, is this just, and no offense to those games, but is that the future for new IP? Is everything that comes out with a $150+ million budget going to flop unless it's a franchise? I really fucking hate this trend. I absolutely hate it, and I'm gonna do my damnedest to support interesting new IP in 2024 and beyond, because I do not want to live in that world where new brand new things are being pushed aside in favor of that comfort food nostalgia. I want both to exist simultaneously, and if I have to pick one or the other, I'm gonna go new IP 9 times out of 10 over old remasters and classic content and franchises and shit like that. I get the love, when a Grand Theft Auto or a Mass Effect or a Resident Evil comes out, I'm gonna put that above everything as well. But goddamn, man, I really hope people start supporting new IP in a big way. That way we can continue to see fresh, interesting shit pop up in this industry. My 10th prediction here is that Nintendo Switch 2 launches with a version of Game Pass included. Probably a very, very simplified, boiled down version of Game Pass that only allows for like streaming or something, just a really simplistic version. But I think we get the Nintendo Switch 2, and I think that we finally see that seal start to rip. We finally get that seal pulled off slowly of Game Pass emerging into other devices, into other ecosystems, and the ubiquity will begin rolling downhill with the Switch 2. With the Switch 2, to kind of carry into that prediction, I should say I don't think the Switch 2 will launch this year. I think the Switch 2 will launch in 2025 with the version of Game Pass. I'm just saying, when the Switch 2 launches, I think we have some version of Game Pass included in it. I don't see Phil and crew, I don't see them resting until that motherfucking Switch, and even PlayStation, I don't see them resting until they can get Game Pass on pretty much every platform, pretty much every device. And I think that's the only way that their vision for Game Pass, their 100 million subscriber vision, I think that's the only way that we ever possibly see that, is if it becomes available on a Switch, on a PS6, PS7, whatever, as well as your smart TVs and iPhones and all that shit. So I think that I think we get the announcement of the Switch 2 in 2024, obviously, and I think in that announcement, or in some press release or whatever, we hear that Game Pass will be available on the Switch 2. My 11th prediction is a bit of a darker one, but I mean, honestly, I don't know if it's any darker than the situation currently is, but my 11th prediction is that Embracer begins selling off individual teams, and tying into that, staying with Xbox here. This is a very Xbox-centric prediction episode, but I think Microsoft buys Crystal Dynamics and Eidos with all of their IP. But I think it's pretty obvious at this point that the Embracer CEO is probably looking to get the fuck out of this situation as quickly as possible. I don't know what the hell the idea was behind buying everything under the sun, other than hoping that the Saudi royal fund or the Saudi wealth fund would bankroll you into the future, which is just like, whoa, that's your one and only go-to plan? That seems a bit short-sighted. What if something goes wrong there? And once again, I will say, most of these people running these companies are far smarter than I am, so I'm sure that it's much deeper than I'm making it out to be, but still seems like a bad plan. And I don't know. I don't know if the plan was to buy companies at what they thought was a low market price and then sell high and then hope that they could survive until they were able to do so. But it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. And I mean, they made some pretty good acquisitions, man. When you look at the price that they bought Eidos and Crystal Dynamics for, that was a fucking great bargain for Embracer. And I imagine they'll be able to get their money back on that, because I think Microsoft would probably pay up for that just to make sure that they have the team working on Perfect Dark under their belt. And I mean, getting Deus Ex, just completing the holy trinity of Western RPGs with Deus Ex and fucking BGS, Obsidian, In Exile. Like, come on, man. My 12th prediction on the docket is that Summer Game Fest will have far and away its best showcase in 2024. Keeley he'll be making up for the lackluster Game Awards with some positive buzz, some positive press regarding Summer Games Fest. And I think it'll really begin to establish itself as like the premier home for game reveals in that summer window, as E3 is now officially dead. And kind of tied to that, I also think fewer AAA publishers are going to be doing their own showcases in 2024, summer 2024. I think this is going to be like the place, as is the Game Awards in, the winter period, to reveal your games, to announce your games, to show updates to gameplay, shit like that. I think this is now like the de facto definitive, okay, we're going to go here. Xbox is going to primarily be first party. PlayStation, whenever they do anything, if they do anything, they'll be primarily first party, and the go-to definitive spot for AAA third-party publishers to showcase their game for the first time, if they want to reveal in that summer window, will be at Summer Games Fest. And my 13th and final prediction for the show is that NCAA 2024 will be the highest selling game of 2024. Or NCAA, football 2025, whatever the hell they call it. But yeah, I think it'll be the first game to top Call of Duty since 2018's Red Dead Redemption 2 topped it. And then before that, Call of Duty was the best-selling game every single year consecutively until 2013's Grand Theft Auto 5 topped it. And if you want to look at non-Rockstar games that topped Call of Duty, you'd have to go all the way back to 2008 with Wii Play and Mario Kart Wii. So, first time a non-Call of Duty, non-Rockstar game will be at the top of the charts at the end of 2024 since, whatever the fuck numbers I just rattled off there. And we will be placing a crown on top of the helmet that is NCAA 2025. I don't think that sentence made any sense. To summarize, NCAA 2024, 2025, whatever they call it, best-selling game of 2024. All right, and now on to the reveal announcement predictions. And like I said earlier, I didn't put a ton down here because, I think it'll just be more fun to save a lot of that stuff for the different showcases. But I got a couple things that I would like to shout out real quick to you. We talked about it earlier, so I'll go ahead and tie in real quickly here, where I was saying that I don't think that id's next game is that rumored Mandalorian game. I don't think that they want, and I'm not saying id can't do a third-person shooter, but I would imagine that they want that game to be a third-person shooter. You want to be able to see your character. And I mean, there's definitely ways of making a Star Wars game a first-person shooter, but I don't think with The Mandalorian, which I don't know, maybe that would be the perfect character to make a game into a first-person shooter. I don't know. Here's my theory. Here's my prediction. I think we're being hoodwinked. And maybe this is very much going to be more in the realm of a hope than a prediction. I don't know. Is there still juice left in the Gears of War squeeze? Because the rumors that Gears of War or the Coalition were working on a different project, they were pulled off that project. That project was canceled, and then they begin working on Gears of War 6. And it's like, sure, that could be real, or you could be pulling the wool a little bit. And maybe the Coalition is the team working on a third-person shooter Star Wars game. And to me, that makes all the sense in the world. The premier third-person shooter team, one of the premier third-person shooter teams out there with incredible capabilities in Unreal Engine 5. If you want a showpiece Star Wars game on UE5, that's like probably the team to go to. And I think that pitch is a no-brainer for Disney or for LucasArts. So once again, this might be a little bit more of a hope than a prediction. I'm going to say the Coalition, it's revealed that the Coalition is working on a Star Wars game. Fuck, can I erase that? I want to erase that. I want to put out a more blanket safe prediction here. And it's not even that safe. But can I just say that Xbox, it's revealed that there's an exclusive Star Wars game. It's revealed at that summer showcase, we're getting an exclusive Star Wars title from Xbox that is not the rumored id first-person shooter Star Wars title. Is that enough? The more I'm looking over at my damn announcement predictions, the more I'm realizing these are just fucking hopes, and that's probably why I get all these wrong. But my next one, number 2, is that Code Veronica gets revealed in 2024. I think that's the next Resident Evil game that we get. I feel like we can't go straight into 5. There's just no way we can go straight into 5. I don't even know why Capcom would really want to go straight into 5. Give it a little bit more time. Let people separate themselves from RE5 a little bit more. Give it enough time to where you can really make like some significant gameplay changes to it where it would feel totally different, look totally different, which I mean, hell, I guess they didn't even have the moving and shooting in RE5, did they? So yeah, they probably could remake the shit out of that thing, and it'd probably be pretty damn dope. Capcom hasn't missed in a hot minute. I'm not going to start second guessing them now, but my prediction, aka my hope, is that Code Veronica is the next game revealed, the next Resident Evil game revealed by Capcom. And I mean, there's some good lore in Code Veronica. It's really, really, really fucking dark, but there's some really good lore, and there's some real good Wesker lore in there that it would make sense to get that before RE5. So I'm going to say, fuck it. I know it's a hope. I'm saying Code Veronica gets revealed in 2024. Mafia 4? It probably should be about time that we see Mafia 4. I know Hangar 13 canceled that Transformers-esque live service game that they were working on in, was it 2020 or so? So if they began work on Mafia 4 in 2020 or 2021, it probably should be about time, I would assume, to get the reveal and then the release in 2026-ish. I don't know, though. Publishers are being a little bit more close to the vest and revealing games and then releasing them like a year or so later. So maybe we are still about a year away. But fuck it, whatever. I'm locking in Mafia 4. Another hope, but whatever. I'm grasping for straws. I'm call me what you will, but there's no way that damn Uncharted little glimpse we got, that stupid little 2-second thing in that sizzle reel, that PlayStation sizzle reel, there's no way that just means nothing. There's no way that means abso-fucking-lutely nothing. I think we see Uncharted 5 or just the new Uncharted game revealed in 2024. I think you will be playing as Cassie. I think there will be probably some segments where you get to play as Nathan Drake. And yeah, I think Uncharted 5 or just whatever the new real big budget next Uncharted game, I think it gets revealed in 2024 for the first time. I also think we get a brand new Castlevania game revealed in 2024. I'm not going to predict 2D, 3D. I'm not going to predict the scale of this next Castlevania game, the budget, the team working on it, whatever. But I do think we get a Castlevania game in 2024. I think it's about time for that franchise to have a real resurgence. We see Konami with Metal Gear coming back, with Silent Hill coming back. There's no way that they're not talking to different developers about Castlevania as well. I don't know if you guys saw this shit, but their Peacock on Twitter, they put out this very bizarre like concept gameplay thing. I don't even know what you call it. And it was of the moment where Sami Zayn turns on Roman Reigns. For non-WWE fans, I'll obviously have the clip that Peacock put out. But this just felt weird to me, man. This felt like it did. I don't know. Something doesn't feel right with this. I don't think that they just put this clip out for no reason. This felt like kind of, okay, let's throw this out here and let's see how the audience feels about this. And I don't know if you guys remember, but there was that investor call where I think it was Stephanie McMahon talked about WWE had an RPG in development. And if this is what they mean, something in this vein, fucking sign me the fuck up. A Telltale style choose your own adventure WWE game with maybe a touch of gameplay in it. Dude, you are speaking my language. Absolutely, yes, sign me up. This is what I've been dreaming about in career modes. And obviously what you're seeing doesn't look incredible in terms of the character models look a little bit off. Some of the movement looks a little bit stiff. I don't think this is the actual game that we're going to get. I just think that they sent this out as kind of like a feeler. Kind of, hey, what's the temperature on this tweet? And it went viral, man. People were hot on this thing, and it seemed like unanimously everyone was on board to get something like this. So I think the message was sent. I think the message was heard loud and clear that the fans are on board to pay some cash for this. So I think we officially get it announced a new WWE RPG in 2024. All right, and for my 7th and final pick, for some reason I saved the most depressing pick for last. Knights of the Old Republic remake gets re-revealed. PlayStation is no longer attached to the project, and the remake looks extremely similar to the original. Think something similar, and we talked about this earlier, but think something similar to Destroy All Humans and that version of an upgrade. I think Aspyr just bit off more than they could chew. You know, going from turn-based to more action, Final Fantasy VII inspired combat, in which I know Saber is now the team kind of heading up that project, but I imagine that they just bit off more than they could chew. That would be my overall kind of assumption. I don't know shit, but I would just assume that team just wasn't capable of remaking a game on that level, like system by system, mechanic by mechanic, overhauling the combat completely. That's a daunting task for a team like Aspyr, who has only really done ports and light touch-ups, light remasters up to this point. And I mean, I do think it will have modern visuals. I think it will look pretty good. I just think it'll be a very, very pretty version of that old game. Kind of in the same way, like I said earlier, with Destroy All Humans. I know a lot of people are hoping that Xbox goes in and saves the day and throws In Exile on it or Obsidian on it, but those teams are so goddamn busy. You know what I mean? This would be one of those things for me where it would be a dream if Xbox acquires Eidos and acquires fucking Crystal Dynamics, and then they also go in and buy the KOTOR, the rights for a Knights of the Old Republic remake, and then put Eidos working on that. And, you know, Crystal Dynamics is off working on Perfect Dark still, and that's kind of a dream scenario for me as well. I don't think it happens. I don't even think if Xbox does acquire Eidos that they put them on Knights of the Old Republic remake. I do think that it will come out. I just think they would lose PlayStation as a publisher. I just think it'll release. It'll be self-published or whatever. So 7th and final prediction here is that we do get the Knights of the Old Republic remake. It officially is re-revealed with PlayStation out of the picture entirely, no longer a PlayStation exclusive, and that it'll just be self-published by Saber Interactive or whatever. But before we do wrap this up, well, let's carry over some of the predictions from 2023 into 2024. The Witcher 4, I do think we see for the first time in 2024. Ghost of Tsushima 2, I do think we see for the first time in 2024. Splinter Cell as well. And I would also say my prediction for Mass Effect 5, just carry that straight over into 2024, that we get a legitimate reveal and understanding of who we're going to be playing as in Mass Effect 5. Carry that over into 2024. Control 2, no. Factions, obviously not. DMC 6, let's carry that one over into 2024. Roll 7's new IP, let's carry that one over into 2024. Hazelight's new game, let's carry that one over into 2024. Resident Evil 9, no, we'll go with Code Veronica. So those 7 that I just listed out, and I'll have it on the screen for you to see, we'll carry those into 2024. So there you have it, guys. That is the video game 2024 video game prediction extravaganza. I appreciate you for tuning in. I appreciate you for stopping by. Hit me down below in the comments with your prediction extravaganza. Hope 2024 is off to an awesome start for you all. I'm going to hop out of your hair. I appreciate y'all for stopping by. Like, subscribe, comment, all that good shit massively helps out the algorithm. Appreciate you, good people. See you in the next video. Goodbye.